Zach McKinstry has been great for the Tigers this year and made the All-Star team. At 30 years old, Zach McKinstry is peaking and helping the Tigers compete for a World Series. But to start the year, it looked like he might not even make the team. In the draft, he was picked so low that the round doesn't even exist anymore. So, how did we get here? Zach McKinstry committed to Central Michigan University after playing high school baseball in Fort Wayne, Indiana. He played 2 seasons there and was one of the best players there for both of the years that he played. Despite never hitting a home run in his college career, Zach had a .321 average, .403 on-base percentage, 20 stolen bases, and 45 RBIs across 118 games. After that, he was drafted 1,001st overall in the 30th round by the LA Dodgers. In 2017, he made it all the way up to AA Tulsa. In 2019, he made it up to AAA OKC. Then, in 2020, on September 16th at the age of 25, Zach made his major league debut with the LA Dodgers. He only played 4 games, getting 7 plate appearances, but then in 2021, he played 60 games. His stats weren't the best, and he was a negative WAR player, but he was getting started. In 2022, he didn't make the majors out of spring training, and was sent down and called up a lot throughout the year by the Dodgers. Eventually, he was traded to the Cubs for pitcher Chris Martin. He finished out the year in the majors, and for the first time in his career, Zach was a plus WAR player through 47 games for the Chicago Cubs. Then, during spring training the next year, Zach was traded to the Tigers. Zach McKinstry made the Tigers, and for the first time in his career, he would be an everyday player in the majors. And going into June 2023, he had a .228 average with a .400 on-base percentage. Zach McKinstry had a very real all-star campaign at that point in the season. He wasn't a power hitter or driving in a lot of runs, but he was getting on base, and that's a lot better than most of the 2023 Tigers at that point in time. Unfortunately, his stats would start to trail off during June and he fell back down to earth, ending the year with a .231 average, .302 on-base percentage, 9 homers, 16 stolen bases, and a 1.3 WAR. So, overall, a pretty average season, not the best. And then the next season, the 2024 Detroit Tigers happened. While the team was great, Zach individually was struggling during the regular season. Then in the playoffs, he actually kind of popped off a little bit. .429 average, .556 on-base percentage, and a home run to top it off. However, that might not have been enough to save his spot. Once we reached 2025 spring training, the Tigers had a lot of young, talented players and a very deep infield. Matt Vierling, Andy Ibanez, Trey Sweeney, and Jace Young can all play third base. Even at the other positions that Zach could have played, the Tigers were very deep, thanks to either offseason acquisitions or young players trying to break into the majors. Some people were saying that Zach was going to be the odd man out, and he wasn't going to make the Tigers' major league roster out of camp. But then, Matt Vierling got hurt. Jace Young needed more time in the minors to get better, and Andy Ibanez was not as good as last season. And during all that, while all that drama was going on, Zach McKinstry played great baseball and made the Detroit Tigers. He did cool off in May. He had a nice solid April, but he cooled off in May. His average dropped from a .316 at the start of the month to a .266. Even with that, he was still getting on base and playing solid defense. However, he wasn't necessarily all-star level. Then June happened. Not only did his batting average go back up to north of .280, but his base stealing started taking off. He stole 7 in June, and just 12 games in July, he stole 5. The Tigers are not a base-stealing team. There are very few guys that even attempt to steal bases. They are aggressive on the base paths, but they don't steal a lot. Zach McKinstry is the only guy on this roster that has a green light. So Zach McKinstry is now a guy who gets on base, racks up hits, and could end the year batting near .300, plays great defense at third or whatever other position he's put at, and to add on top of it, he can steal bases. And at first, he didn't make the All-Star team. Even with all that skill, all the storyline, everything, at first he did not make the initial All-Star roster. But then, after some guys dropped out, Zach McKinstry was finally invited to be an American League All-Star for the first time in his career at age 30. They didn't invite a young, flashy power hitter or a 90-plus RBI guy. Just a good old-fashioned contact hitter who loves to get dirty and, of course, has some Detroit grit to him. Which is exactly what I expect from the guy who was born in Toledo, went to high school in Fort Wayne, went to college at Central Michigan, and now has spent most of his major league career in Detroit. He's a Midwest kid, and so, of course, he has that Midwest blue-collar grit like a lot of other Tiger fan favorites. I mean, we're talking about the same guy that had 1,000 players, 1,000 baseball players drafted ahead of him. The odds of him even playing one game in the majors was very slim. And now he's played 3 full seasons of Major League Baseball, one with the feel-good story of 2024, and another season with the best team in baseball. And not only that, but he is now officially an All-Star. And to take it a step further, if I asked you who were the 2 players tied for the lead in WAR amongst position players on the Detroit Tigers roster, your first guess would probably be Riley Green. And you would be right, that is one of them. But who's the other? Maybe Javier Baez, the best defender and clutch hitter on the Tigers, or Spencer Torkelson, the guy who's going to end the year with 40 homers and 100 RBIs. No, it's Zach McKinstry. He doesn't have the homers or the RBIs or any of the power numbers, but he does have the most triples on the team with 8, the most stolen bases, the 3rd most walks, the best batting average among qualified hitters, and the 2nd best OBP and OPS, along with playing 6 defensive positions plus DHing a few times for the Tigers this year. But how does he rank in the majors overall? He's tied for 2nd in triples, 28th in batting average, 31st in on-base percentage, 32nd in on-base plus slugging, and is tied for 20th in WAR among position players. And again, to top it all off, he plays multiple different positions and could be a Gold Glove candidate for either the utility spot or third base. Zach McKinstry might very well be the Pete Rose of Don Kelly's. He wasn't supposed to be on the team after spring training. The past 2 years, he couldn't even sniff a .250 batting average, and now he's flirting with .300. Zach McKinstry's baseball story has been nothing but very low odds and scrapping for every single inch he could get. He wasn't a big-name recruit coming out of high school. Other than Central Michigan, he only had schools like Ball State, Southern Illinois, and Southern Indiana looking at him, and he was never a big-name prospect in the draft or in the minors. But he slowly worked his way up the ladder, all culminating in this, being named an All-Star while playing with the best team in Major League Baseball, hoping to compete for a World Series banner and bringing home the trophy to Detroit. It's just wild that this great season from him happened so suddenly. I knew he had the tools to be a good utility player, but I never really saw him as an all-star. It's just so great to see it happen to a guy that really deserves it. Most utility players have a journeyman career, receiving little praise other than some fans who vocally show their support. And it looked like that is exactly what Zach McKinstry's career was going to be. But now maybe he can have more of a Brandon Inge type career, spending the bulk of his time in the majors in one city, and leaving as a player who we're going to look back on fondly. But now with the emergence of Zach McKinstry, this does bring up a question. Because we have a position for utility guys in the Gold Glove Award, should we have one on the All-Star roster? A spot on the American and National League All-Star teams reserved for utility players like Zach McKinstry. I'm kind of torn on this. We already have a lot of all-star spots, and sometimes guys who don't really deserve it get in. But I would also like to see us give some love and appreciation to utility players who rarely get recognition on the big stages. But maybe that's another video for another time. Anyways, I'm Limitless Pulls. I'm gonna catch y'all next time.
But you get the mix right, nigga, put it in the blender. Hell yeah, I'm Wingstop. Bitch, I'm selling chicken tenders. It's like the beef with energy and water like timber. Ain't turning, looking like dinner. It's like I got the bag, boy or girl.